Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Angela, and in today's video, I have some really exciting news to share. I officially bought my apartment in New York City. Yeah! In today's video, I'm going to share why I ended up buying an apartment, what my qualifications were, what the process was, and what the exact breakdown looks like in terms of what I had to pay up front and what my monthly payments will be because I did take out a mortgage. I was looking for a studio in the city somewhere between Union Square to Central Park because that would be the easiest way to get to work for me. But every single studio I looked at was above $2,000, and any of the studios that were even $2,000 were just not great. They were in super old buildings. All of the appliances were pretty worn down and looked like they were from the 1940s. And if I wanted an apartment that even looked sort of new, I would definitely have to go above 2.5K. And that sort of sprung me on the search to purchase an apartment. Initially, I was just looking and seeing what was out there. I wasn't completely committed to buying an apartment because it wasn't something that I had imagined for myself so soon in my career. However, ultimately, I did find an apartment I liked. This particular apartment that I found did financially make sense for me given the monthly payments were pretty much equivalent to what I would have had to pay in rent anyway. Firstly, I was looking for a condo and not a co-op. The reason why I was looking for a condo is because co-ops have incredibly strict rules on renting out. I know that I'm not going to be staying here forever and that I'm going to want to rent this out as an investment property. Co-ops have really strict rules. They'll only let you rent it out for 2 years at a time, and then you'll have to live back there again for another 3 years, and it just didn't match up with what I wanted for this property in the long term. I ended up raising my budget a lot during my process. In the beginning, I was looking at apartments that were around 300 to 400K, but there's pretty much no condos in the city that are that price, only co-ops. So I raised that price to 500, then 600, and then ultimately 700,000 until I found a suitable studio to look at. So in the end, my budget was 700,000. That was the budget that I used when I was looking up apartments online. My third qualification is that it had to be located somewhere central in Manhattan. I wanted it to be located somewhere between Union Square to Central Park. This is because I wanted somewhere where it was easy for me to get to work, to get to anywhere centrally in Manhattan, and to easily get to the subway if I needed it. Fourth qualification is that the building had to have both a doorman and an elevator. This goes hand in hand with how new I wanted the apartment to be. I found that the newer apartments always had a doorman and an elevator, so that was just a general qualification that I wanted in every apartment that I looked at. Next, there needed to be a washer dryer in the building. It didn't need to be in my unit, but I needed to have one in the building. Next qualification, it had to be a decent size. And for me, the qualification wasn't too lofty. I just wanted it to be above 450 square feet. I visited a studio that was under 400 square feet and it literally felt like I was in a shoebox. All I could fit was a bed and a tiny table next to it and nothing else. You could probably do a somersault in the room and reach the other end. And my last qualification is that it needed to have big windows and good lighting. I like sunshine. It's good for my mental health. And I also work from home and film videos, so I need good sunlight. I first started out by looking at dozens upon dozens of apartments on Street Easy. I then reached out to all of the agents for those apartments and ultimately ended up picking one agent to be my real estate agent. She ended up taking me around over a dozen apartments in New York City across around 2 months or so. Once I found the apartment I wanted and I decided I wanted to make an offer, it was an incredibly fast process and wired 10% of the purchase price to be held in escrow while the rest of the process continues. And now we have a fully executed contract. My next step was finding a bank who would be able to handle my mortgage. I checked with a couple of banks just to see who would give me the best rate, And in the end, I went with Citizens Bank, who was able to give me 2.625% on a 30-year loan at 25% down. I felt like this was a decent rate as far as mortgages go, since the 30-year loan at the amount I borrowed, which is $450,000, are generally upwards of 3%. My last step in the process was submitting a board application. Both co-ops and condominiums in Manhattan have board applications, but condo ones are much less strenuous and they're more like a checkpoint to just make sure that you have the right document. This full process took about 2 months' time, and once the board approved my application, a closing date was set. I went to my lawyer's office and it was pretty much me signing papers for about 2 hours. My hands were super cramped, but at the end of it, I had a pair of keys to my apartment. So the apartment I found actually fit all of my qualifications, and I genuinely thought it'd be a very good investment property. This is because this apartment has much lower fees compared with other apartments in the city. So in terms of what I paid upfront, I paid a 25% down payment on a $600,000 apartment, meaning I paid $150,000 upfront. There was also about $20,000 worth of closing costs that involved things like attorney fees and taxes and a random assortment of other things associated with buying property. So all in all, $170,000 was what was paid upfront. Now in terms of my monthly payments going forward, my mortgage is roughly $1,800 per month, and I also need to pay HOA fees and real estate taxes. So the HOA fees of this building is what really caught my eye. The HOA fees are only around $300 per month. Whereas if you take a lot of the other typical common charges in Manhattan, they're much more. Generally in Manhattan, you can find them anywhere from $600 to $800 or even above $1,000. So me only paying $300 for my fees was a really good price. And the reason why my HOA fees are so low is because there are so many units in my building that it's spread across everyone. My real estate taxes for this apartment are around $350, which I felt was also reasonable. Real estate taxes typically go up a little bit every year, but not that much. So I knew this would stay relatively constant. And lastly, I also have to pay homeowners insurance, which is around another $75. So all in, every month I'm paying around $2,600. And if I were to rent out this apartment, I would be able to rent it out for $2,600 or even more, just based on similar apartments in the building that have been rented out. And so that's why I decided to buy this apartment. It's somewhere I would personally be willing to live, just because it's in a pretty safe and central location in Manhattan. And on top of that, it was a good investment financially just because of the low fees of the apartment, and I know there would be a lot of demand just looking at all of the other units that have rented out historically. This apartment will be undergoing a renovation across the next couple of months, so I'm excited to show you guys that process. If you have any questions on this, let me know down in the comment section below. I'm excited to take you on my journey, so if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel, give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!